BPod Studios.
Get ready. It's time now for Zolak and Bertrand. Brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Why do you like the idea, Phil, of trading for Justin Fields and using early picks on maybe somebody else instead?
I like the idea if you don't love the idea of one of those three quarterbacks. If you aren't completely sold that one of those three guys, whoever falls to you at 3, isn't a face of the franchise type of player, then don't draft him. You have to love the player. Do not force it at the top of the draft. Get a premium player at a premium position that's not quarterback if you don't love that guy. And I should just make it very clear here, too. You could potentially have Fields for 2 years. If you acquire him soon enough, you could even potentially pick up his 5th-year option. Now, that's a lot of money. You're talking maybe $25-ish million for a guy who's been very up and down over the course of his career. It's an option is all I'm saying. I don't hate it. 3rd-round pick, you're sort of rolling the dice at that point in the draft anyway for a guy who has real upside at the most important position in the sport.
He agrees with Zach. That's Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston. He's on board with the possibility of bringing in Justin Fields. As we talk about the Patriots, they are down to 6 candidates in their search for an offensive coordinator. Nick Caley, former tight ends coach here in New England, is a finalist for the job. But Mike Giardi of Boston Sports Journal reports that the opening in New England has been not buzzworthy. He wrote, I can't stress enough how little buzz the Pats offensive coordinator search has generated league-wide. Talking to league sources, there's a lot of hemming and hawing about the quality of the position. Their best playmaker is a 6th-round Lilliputian in Pop Douglas. Sure.
Yep.
Where do I sign up?
Okay.
Another source added, what does Mayo want them to be? I don't know that anyone knows the answer yet.
That's my question. What's the interview process like? What's the direction? What are the questions? Like, obviously, we're not going to get the questions. We're not going to be sitting in the interview. But if you got your ducks in line, you're ready to go on this guy. And what's the feeling of these guys coming out of there?
Another league source said this, the job looks worse on paper than it did a year ago when Billy took over.
Oh, Jesus does.
The quarterback can't play. They did what with Juju and Devontae Parker? They have some key free agents. It could be rough if they don't hit a home run in the draft. Some of the names they've spoken to, again, Luke Getsy, drew shrugs from sources I've talked to here in Alabama. That is Mike Giardi reporting from the Senior Bowl. Jeff Howe had something similar when he talked about this in a podcast going back to last week. The league looks at this job and this position and this team and says, ugh. Stay out of there. That place sucks. Bill O'Brien quit because it was so bad. So are the Pats going to blow this in their search for an OC? Are they going to be willing to overpay to get their OC? Or do they revert back and call an old friend in Josh McDaniels when everybody else turns them down? That's a question.
And it's McDaniels without Brady. And I think that's the key here. And I looked at some numbers here. And this is why I do think that
Scott Zolak, numbers guy?
Yeah, I got some
Big
numbers
analytics
here.
guy.
So I mean, become a stats
obviously
nerd.
we're not going to pad Josh's wins and stats with Brady because we know what it was with Bill. And I think that sends those guys over the top. I'm more inclined to look at the numbers without Tom there. Like, okay, for instance, the Matt Castle year. Josh was calling the plays there. They were loaded. They were stacked. They went 11-5 with Castle. They didn't get in the playoffs that year. I think the Jets beat them, right? The Jets were the team that got in. The year Brady got suspended, so you got 4 games without Tom. 3 of those were with Jimmy. Jimmy got hurt in the Miami game. Brissett sucked it up and went with a busted ligament in his thumb. The team went 3-1 without Brady under Josh there. In 2022, Mac's rookie year, you went 10-7. And things looked promising. It was Jones's best year under Josh's direction. And in 2020 year, you went 7-9 with Cam Newton on a team that wasn't really very good. But you saw some different things run with Cam that Josh didn't ask him to do. So the question is, what offense would you run and how hardcore would you be? Is we're doing it by like the old way. I think he would adapt to the type of players that we have because of the experience.
Okay.
But the bottom line is It's an overall winning record there without Brady. And he's been here. He knows the team. He knows ownership. He knows the other coaches. He's worked with these guys before. He's comfortable here. He's 31 and 22.
Do you have any numbers on Vegas this year? Any Vegas numbers or Denver numbers?
I'm talking about here in New England with his offense.
He was running his offense in Vegas.
Yeah. And I don't think he wanted that quarterback that he had in Jimmy, even though he got the best of Jimmy here. Because he had better players, probably. Better offensive line.
Zoe loves Josh McDaniels so much. I mean, I really like Josh McDaniels, and I know.
That's legit research.
I've almost always exclusively defended Josh McDaniels. I've been defending Josh McDaniels on this program for as long as it has existed, right? We get the callers that used to rip him for his play calling, rip him for the offense.
I love Billy,
I like
too.
him. I think he's good.
You know I love Billy, and I want Billy to be back, too, but Billy sees the writing on the wall. So I look at this as like they're in major trouble. So I want a guy that can come in and stabilize it. Quick fixes are not the route.
Then you should fire Gerard Mayo and make Josh McDaniels the head coach. Well, then that would have been a better plan.
Maybe they should have went through the interview process.
That would have been a better plan.
Then maybe they should have done that interview process.
I'm telling you, the only reason I don't want Josh McDaniels is because that dynamic is going to be weird and awkward and it's going to suck. And the last thing they need is weird dynamics on the coaching staff when their team blows. That's what bad teams have. They have weird setups, coaches that don't get along, different sides of the ball that feud with each other. That already started this past season. It's bad for business. It's bad for your football team.
What if Nick
and if you're going to tell me Josh McDaniels would make for a better offensive coordinator than Nick Caley, I'd say you're probably right. Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's far more experienced. He's got a far better resume. Yeah. He's done the gig. I agree with all that.
I don't want to be non-competitive for 3 years. I don't. Like, I think he would help you. Like, the defense is going to be good. I'd get him in here, and I would sign a Wenu, and that's like a first step in the right direction. And then if you have to franchise Hunter Henry. The number's low. Then you got a tight end. Now we're doing something. And now maybe he'll bring in a third down back. Maybe he'll bring in a fullback, and we'll go back to a little bit of basic stuff. Run some power. Run some counter. You had some good numbers with Ramondre. I get nervous with a new guy. Like, what if Nick comes in and says, yeah, we're going back to the old offense. It's going to be hardcore, and I'm going to do everything I learned from Josh under his tutelage because that's what I feel comfortable with. But what if he doesn't understand players? I'm just saying Josh has more experience. I'm just like, these type of roles, unless it's guaranteed that this guy's like Zach Robinson was the next guy or the guy in Detroit was the next guy. Like, those are the big up-and-comers. Then you hand them the job. Feels like we're going down the list. And it's kind of a safe pick.
Can I ask you a question?
He's not going to be threatening to the head coach.
Why would Josh McDaniels want this job? Well, I don't know why anybody would want this job other than
to be home.
No,
and he's making money.
He's getting paid anyway.
He's making a ton of money from the Raiders. Now, coaches want to coach.
Can he not get an OC job going forward?
I think he was going to go with
Bill.
Is he dead
to the league?
No, but I think
probably thought he was going to go with Bill.
I would say this is plan B.
He just wants to work.
The coaches want to work. Bill wants to coach.
Why work here?
Billy O'Brien wants to coach. Bill O'Brien's got money.
Yeah, but he went to a good job.
Okay.
You know what Josh McDaniels should do right now? He should call BC.
Maybe he doesn't like the collegiate level. I don't know.
That's what he should do, though.
You want to coach? I think he's a pro offensive coordinator.
Don't you think this is the opposite, though, of like the McVay setup? You've got a defensive head coach. He just throws you the keys to the offense, and you take control of the offense. You've seen it with McVay and other guys like that. You take control of the defense. I'm worrying about the offense. Like that, to me, feels like the modern-day head coach.
The best head coaches
NFL.
have their hands in everything.
I don't know if they
best,
do anymore.
Yes,
I don't know
they
if they
do.
anymore.
Okay,
yes,
Raheem Morris gets hired by Atlanta. He had his ducks in line. We're going. I'm getting Zach Robinson. You're coming with me. Let's go. Saddle up. He said, sure, let's go. Why didn't he come here? Was he not blown away in the interview process? I don't know. Seemed like a guy that teams covet. It feels like Craig Breslow a little bit. That's all. I would just feel better with an experienced guy. That's all. I mean, he's got some record here, on record of what he's done. Without Tom Brady. Okay, there's no Tom Brady walking through the door. I'm sorry.
This is borderline breaking news, but I think it's worthy of the sounder. Do you think so? You think it's worthy of the sounder, McCone?
What is it?
It's related to NFL head coaches.
Let's do it.
Hit it. Come on, T-Bone. It's worth it.
This is breaking sports news.
Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
On 98.5, the Sports Hub.
All right, from Adam Schefter 3 minutes ago, from Dallas to D.C., the Commanders are hiring Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn as their next head coach.
Breaking news? Yeah.
Quinn and Commanders GM Adam Peters are the two men now charged with leading Washington into the future. Dan Quinn, your next Washington head coach.
I think it's worthy of a mention, considering yesterday we had a Photoshop behind us, and maybe Fowler can throw it up there again, of Bill Belichick wearing a Washington Commanders sweatshirt.
Look terrible.
What? The look or the Photoshop? The Photoshop was great.
No, the look. Just that
just
awful
looks so
color.
real and so
burgundy and yellow.
Yeah.
It looks like waste management.
So Bill is not going to Washington, and boy, oh boy, do the Commanders look bad for how they conducted their search. They were all in on Ben Johnson.
Whoops.
They didn't get him.
You were going with a hot new offensive coordinator type. Now you're bringing an older, experienced defensive-minded head coach. And you actually take a good coach off Dallas's coaching staff, which makes it even more boobery down there. What are they doing? Oof.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So they get Dan Quinn, who I think is worthy of another shot as a head coach. We all thought he was going to Seattle. That didn't happen. I would say it's not the best start for Adam Peters in Washington, though.
Feels like a bit of a panic hire, right?
Yeah,
your guys
feels
off
like
the board.
They had nobody else.
Yeah.
It's like Nick Caley.
If Nick Caley's willing to take the gig, he could leave the Patriots at the altar. All of that could be true. Let's take a timeout. We're going to have Mike Reiss with us coming up next.
Zoe and Beetle.
I don't think that's a thing.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go to the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline and welcome in Mike Reiss of ESPN, who joins us on Zolak and Bertrand. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
What's up, Beetle? What's up, Zoe? How we doing?
Hey, we miss you, man. That's why I wanted to get you on. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Why'd you need to get him on to do that? Why don't you just call him?
Well, I did.
I know.
I texted him. I said, "Hey, can you come on with us?" And he said, "Yeah, let me." You got something to do at noon, I guess, with ESPN. But what's going on, Mike? What are you hearing around here?
Well, so let's go through offensive coordinator, because I feel like that's the piece that we're waiting on. I would say they're working through the process. We got Nick Caley, Rams tight end coach, was in early this week. Luke Getsy, former Bears offensive coordinator, was in this week. So I think based on the fact that those two were in town, we can deduce that they're two of the ones they're closely looking at. We know some of the other names, but I'm not aware that any of the other names have been in town. And two of them are obviously with the 49ers, and they couldn't be, right, because they're preparing for the Super Bowl. So as of now, I think the answer to the questions, though, is they're working through the process, try to make the best choice.
Have you heard anything about the process? Last time we talked to you, it's sort of we talked about the front office, and we were all there when Gerard got hired at the press conference, and Matt Groh was going to be here, Elliott Wolf's going to be here. It looks like Matt Groh's down to Senior Bowl this week, which means he's not doing the interviews unless he's on Zoom. And since they're in person, I'm sure it would just be in person type things. Is there anybody else in the room with Mayo? Are you hearing anything?
Yeah, good questions, though, and I think it's important. To me, and this is my view of it, and I don't know if the team would agree with it or not, but I think Elliott Wolf is a key name here. And he's the director of scouting. He's the son of the Pro Football Hall of Famer Ron Wolf. And I believe that he's positioned himself here as a key guy, almost like the general manager without the title. And I got to tell you guys, depending on who you talk to around the league, it's a very well-respected front office person. Came up through the Packers. Good organization, good system. Good. You see what they've done as they've sort of transitioned from Favre to Rodgers to Love. There's a lot to like there. I don't know. I have to say, if my read on this is correct, that he's in there with Gerard Mayo in these interviews, I actually think that if you're a fan following the team, I would think that would be something you might feel good about. The fact that he wasn't at the Senior Bowls, though, stood out to me. The idea that he's back piecing this thing together. helping piece it together. Yeah.
Mike, is this an unattractive job to candidates? Are they going to have a hard time filling the position because of the roster and because of a lack of direction right now with this team?
Yes and no. Okay, so here's why it's unattractive. Who's the quarterback?
We don't know.
Right? That's the first thing, right? Like, you tell me I get to go work with Joe Burrow when that job, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty attractive.
Well, I don't think it ends there, though, Mike, right? It's not just quarterback. It's who's my left tackle, who's my right tackle, who are my tight ends, who are my receivers, all of that. I mean,
can I have a third down back?
Yeah, who's
that?
All right.
Right?
So this is where I'm going to push back on it, because you're not wrong, but there's only 32 of these jobs. And to me, that context, Beetle, is important. Like, if I want to coach and I want to be a coordinator, I got 32. Or if I want to coach and run my offense and call plays, I got 32 options. And, like, how do I say this? You know, I mean, yeah, right now, some of the pieces aren't in place, but I got the number 3 pick. I got you know what I mean? Like, I can get those pieces in place, and I could give you a list of examples. I wish I was more prepared, of jobs that didn't look attractive 1 year, and a year later, they look a lot different. So I get it, and you're not wrong, but to me, I think it's less about the job being less attractive and more about the Patriots looking at the candidates that are out there and trying to find someone that excites them, that fits, because I think it's hard to find 32 people that can do the job, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Beetle?
Yeah, I mean, it does, but they should find someone that excites them a little bit faster. That's what I would say. Especially if they've known for months that they were going to let Bill go, if they knew for over a year that they were going to have Gerard Mayo as their head coach, they should have been better prepared to act. There are other teams that cleaned house, and have started to hire their head coaches and fill out their staff faster than the Patriots have.
And this is a fair point.
Thank you.
There are teams that have been flying around the country to meet with candidates, very aggressive. And I think this is where if we're being honest, this is where having a first-time head coach who's spent all his time in New England, that doesn't have the coaching network of others, that this is playing out that way, Beetle, right? Where there's not as many people you can, I coached with this guy 10 years ago in Arizona. You know, well, like, you're almost building your network a little bit on the fly.
Mike, you were down here at Gillette with us on Tuesdays, and you were talking to coaches and all that, and you heard the fans call into the show, and for 24 years it ran its course, and everybody wanted Bill out. Got to move on. And now we're complaining about the process. What would you say to them, with sort of dragging your feet here a little bit?
Oh, well, so that's a whole nother topic. I mean,
yeah.
I know. So people that want to Bill Belichick on, you're getting what you wanted. Now they can push back on it though and say, well, I didn't know that this was going to be the result and the process. But I mean, that's the answer, right? I mean, with Bill, you knew what you had.
Yeah. You mean as far as structure?
4 and 13, we knew it. Yeah, we lived it.
No, but you know what, Beetle? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too kind on this, but like, I watched the games last weekend, and I thought the in-game coaching. I thought to myself, like, I felt like Bill was at that level. Like, if he was a coach and he had the right pieces in there, like, I felt like you're going to get a high level of coaching. Like, do you disagree with that?
Yeah, he's kicking a field goal in San Francisco, right? He's not going for it.
Well, that's the way I feel. But I mean, maybe I'm too kind to Belichick. I mean, Beetle, do you disagree with that? Like, that's the part that would concern me is are you still going to get the same level of coaching?
You may not get the same level of coaching right away. No, that's certainly a possibility. But what you should be getting back is a better roster over time.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, the record is what the record was, but they didn't quit. They were competitive, and Bill got them to play hard. I'm worried about if things aren't good and things do hit the fan 7 games in, how are we going to react?
I just love how Bill gets no blame for how bad the offense
he
looked.
got
I mean,
a lot
head
of
coach,
it's all personnel.
Like, you can't just say he's a great coach and then look at that offense and say, well, they, great in-game coaching, just the pieces. I mean, it should have looked better than it did.
75-80% he's to blame because of personnel.
And he picked the pieces.
Yeah.
And it's
and that's right. That's right, Beetle. I mean, I think we said the last 2 years, specifically on offense, you could make the case that was a fireable offense, for Bill Belichick. So I don't want to sugarcoat it.
And it's not 100% a roster issue. I mean, it's a big issue, but you can't look that bad and continue to call yourself a great coach and have people say, well, he's elite. I mean, when does that catch up with you at some point to where you say he's not as good as he used to be?
Okay, so I don't
even know why, Mike, we're like relitigating this because he's gone and fired. Like it's over. They made the decision, and now the team looks woefully unprepared when they knew, reportedly, for months that they were going to do this, and they set up Gerard Mayo over a year ago to be the guy. Yeah. I mean, I think the team is worthy of the criticism right now. Their plan sucks.
Maybe that's why we're relitigating it, because the idea would be, well, if you had kept Bill and made infrastructure improvements on offense, would that be a better scenario? I think that's what we're talking about, Beetle, than what has unfolded.
Yeah, and we're rehashing a lot of it, and I think a lot of people are just confused and head-scratching now because it just feels like Bill's the one guy that's removed.
It's not an unfair expectation of your team to fire a head coach and be able to hire a new staff. You can't use the ineptitude of ownership and upper management right now to defend Bill. Sorry, I can't accept that.
I'm not totally following where you're coming from. Give it to me again, Beetle.
You can't say that Bill's a better alternative because the team can't figure their crap out right now. Like, everyone deserves blame, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying, though, right? Like you said if you corrected some things in personnel, you can't still retain him as head coach.
See what it is? Like, see what happens when you fire Bill. Well, this isn't supposed to happen. Teams are supposed to be able to move on from a coach and be able to implement a new coach and new staff of people. That's not an unfair expectation. Teams do it all the time.
We're into February, though. We don't have an offensive coordinator. Yeah. But real quick on Bill here, Mike, and I know we're up against a little bit here, but Adam Schefter, you're tight with Adam. Yeah. You know when Adam has something. Two times in the last 2 weeks, he's continually brought up the situation in Kansas City, even if there is a situation, if, say, Andy Reid walks away if they win, that he could see Bill going there. What do you hearing anything on that?
I haven't heard anything on it, but I would never doubt anything Adam says. He is a great teammate of mine, and I think he's excellent at what he does. So if he's saying it, though, I wouldn't dismiss it. I guess it would surprise me a little bit.
Doesn't seem like a fit to me. You know what I mean?
A-plus kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't necessarily. Yeah, that one would be tough for me to envision, but yeah, let's sort of leave that one there.
You don't sound too excited about the offseason so far.
No, I wouldn't say that, and I would say this. Look, I think it's fair to say that there's growing pains in this process.
Sure.
But we can go through a lot of examples of staffs that haven't come together yet. I mean, there's other teams that are still looking too. So I think that, I almost feel like you can be critical of it, but I think also give it time and see what the pieces come into place and then judge it. And there's still, to me, like we talk about, is this an attractive job? Like, who's the number 3 pick? Like, if that's a centerpiece to build around, to me, that becomes a lot more attractive.
You think McDaniels has a shot if it's not Caley?
I think I would be a little surprised at that. And I will say this, one thing about Nick's got a great situation with the Rams. Like, that, you talk to anyone out there on that staff, like, he really loves it out there. So that if he doesn't come, like, I think he'd be a good hire for the Patriots. If he doesn't come, I think it's as much about how well that has worked out for him out there and his family too, So that's something I'm keeping an eye on.
So handicap it. What are the odds he lands here right now? Put a percentage on it.
If you had asked me like 3 days ago when he came into town, I would have said leading the charge here, Beetle, like top odds. The fact that it hasn't happened yet makes me lower him. Oh, makes me wonder why. So I think I'm right. I'm right in the middle on that. Like I'm not as. I think it'd be a good hire for him. I'm not sold it's going to happen right now.
Interesting, because you said it's such a good situation in L.A. that if I'm going to leave this. You've got to make it. And Beetle mentioned career suicide potentially.
Career suicide coming here.
If it goes bad. If it goes bad. Could it be the pay that is separating it?
I don't think the pay. I think, to me, it's like you're on Sean McVay's staff. Look at the guys flying off there.
Yeah.
So you wait another year or two, and you're probably going to have more chances.
I agree. That's why if I were him, I'd stay. Yeah. I would not come to New England. I'd
be coordinator there. Yeah.
For a third pick, first pick, I wouldn't do it.
And I think the other thing, too, guys, that's important on this stuff is, we all have families. Nick's he's married. He's got 2 kids. It's not just him. Any decision you make, you're affecting others, too. And I think that's, we got to talk about the human side of it, too. I mean, moving your family 3 times in 3 years, I do want to do that. So that's part of it, too.
Well, if you get hired as an OC and you get, $3.5-4 million a year, you make the move.
Yeah.
You make the move. You make it, maybe it's too good to pass up.
Yeah, it's too good to pass up, and you say, well, my kids are going to be better set up in life because Daddy took the job back in New England.
Yeah. Mike, don't forget where we are, buddy. Don't forget us, pal.
Love it.
All right,
Mike. Great talking, guys.
All right, pal.
Appreciate you guys. Miss you, too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mike.
Bye. Mike Reiss, ESPN. What?
Hey, I know, Mike. I can just tell by just the vibe. He's not fired up. I need my guy fired up.
Does he miss Bill? Is that what's going on there?
No,
it sounds like he misses Bill.
I think he understands it. He understands why. It's just a lot of it's just, with the Brady Senior stuff, a lot of it's just getting thrown on Bill right now. Where Bill didn't teach you to strip sack or throw the ball across the grain or turnovers and pick sixes. I mean,
it's honestly not about Bill anymore. It's about the crafts. Let's talk about the people actually who are still here.
I think his tone, Mike's tone is, the direction. And it's just we're kind of in a holding pattern here. And I worry about the growing pain comment. They probably understood they're gonna go through some growing pains.
Which edition are we on of the Dynasty now? By the way, is this because now the paperback is out and it's got the little watch it on Apple TV,
the newest one there
on the cover. Yep. This is the newest one.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they're gonna add an addendum to the end or an extra chapter. How many of these have they printed?
Maybe they'll do a sequel. Maybe it'll be a 3-part thing.
Right? Is this the second printing?
That's a picture book, though. That's
First, it was the.
Not many pictures in here.
First it was the hardcover. This is now the paperback. When they put out the movie and then they put a picture of the movie on the front.
Yeah.
That's what this is. With the stream it on Apple TV Plus. I'm just wondering if a year from now we can get how many chapters are in this thing.
I know a lot of people are going to think, this is pro team. Pro ownership side, but Bill.
I think it is.
Bill did do the sit downs for it.
The epilogue.
He allowed the interviews and participated in it. So
looks like there are 44 chapters in here. Where's chapter 45? Can we write that one about how smart they are, about how everything just is always going to be magic fairy dust in New England?
The Dynasty Part 2. Cam.
Yeah. Where's that?
The Cam years.
They can't even find an offensive coordinator. I bet he's not taking the gig.
Mike didn't seem.
Mike
very
doesn't
convinced.
sound like he's taking the gig, and we're going to talk about
that's why I wanted him to come on because I think
for the record,
Mike the other day felt great about it. I don't think he feels great about it now.
It had nothing to do with the Patriots if he doesn't take the job. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with it's just such a good situation with McVay, and he has 2 kids.
I'm not leaving.
Schools are great out there.
It's like the Josh McDaniels thing when he didn't go to Indy. But he's got kids. Okay. All right. Headlines now with McCone. We'll come right back.
Radio. Zolak and Bertrand.
It's low risk versus high reward.
The Sports Hub.
Mike, you were down here at Gillette with us on Tuesdays, and you were talking to coaches and all that, and you heard the fans call into the show, and for 24 years it ran its course, and everybody wanted Bill out. Got to move on. And now we're complaining about the process. What would you say to them, with sort of dragging your feet here a little bit?
Oh, well, so that's a whole nother topic. I mean, I know. So people that want Bill Belichick on, you're getting what you wanted. Now they can push back on it though and say, well, I didn't know that this was going to be the result and the process. But I mean, that's the answer, right? I mean, with Bill, you knew what you knew what you had.
No, I'm not getting what I wanted. Not at all. I wanted a team that actually has their crap together, that had a plan in place, that went through an exhaustive search for a new head coach. That's what I wanted. Even if they did settle on Gerard Mayo, I wanted them to conduct interviews. I wanted them to do their job, which they're not doing right now. They don't have an offensive coordinator, and it looks like it's an unattractive job, and it's being discussed in league circles like it's all falling apart in New England, and it was so bad that Bill O'Brien quit. We have to accept all of that because we think Bill Belichick needed to go? No. You don't get to use the ineptitude of this team right now as a defense. No. I reject it.
That's what I worry about is the whole McVay tree. They're very connected. They all talk. They're open with the press. Burt goes to the damn Super Bowl parties and sits at their tables. Like, they talk to these guys. And, just watching Felger Mazz the other day with Bedard, like halfway through the interview, his tone changed on something. It was like the Wenu thing. Like, you might as well just let him walk because it's bad. What's bad? Because you could sign him. You could spend the money. They got money to burn. You could tag the tight end because it's not a crazy number. And you could draft a quarterback or sign a quarterback. And then you're moving in a direction now. It shows you've got a vision. It just feels like there's no vision.
Yeah, and I put some of that on Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the team. What's his vision?
You got to blow these candidates away too. You got to walk in. They got to walk in there and say, "Hey, I want to go there." Like, ooh, I like what they're doing. I like him. He's young. He's 37. He's got his bleep together. Knows what he's doing. And like 2 years ago, he had to have a portfolio together and ready to go. When he interviewed with teams, you go to Denver, you go to Carolina, or wherever the heck he went. What was it, Washington? And you got to be ready to go and say, "This is what I want to do, and this is who I want to hire." It's like they kind of know what they want to hire because they've kept a lot.
He also didn't get
staff.
offered any head coaching gigs, so maybe he didn't have great answers for that. I think it's premature to assume.
I'm not assuming. I'm just saying from the portfolio standpoint and having your staff and direction ready to go. Maybe he didn't.
That's crazy. That's a huge red flag.
He may have flunked that part of the interview with those other teams.
Now, because I don't really know. What do you think? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Like, just because you got an interview to be head coach doesn't mean they were hiring you or were close to offering you the gig.
Right. I do like Elliot Wolf is in there. Like, I think Mike's right. He's got some pro background here. He's been in front offices. Like, there's teams he's been on that have built it the right way.
Well, because he doesn't have the issue that Gerard Mayo has. He's worked in other places. Right. And he knows a lot of people in the league.
He knows the league.
He's good for that role.
Yeah.
But if you were the coach in waiting and you knew that you were going to be the guy and the season went off the rails the way it did, wouldn't you be like really starting to attack the way that you're going to take this thing over? And at this point right now, it doesn't feel like that's what's going on with Gerard. If anything, it feels like you're kind of falling back on all the Bill Belichick stuff in the past and just kind of keeping stuff status quo to some extent, which is extra frustrating for someone that actually wanted to keep Bill Belichick like myself, because all we've really done so far is just take away the best coach in the whole coaching staff.
He can coach.
Right. When the team dropped to 2-8 the second week in November.
Maybe we start to get the tickler file ready a little bit.
Yeah, you know, maybe start poking around a little bit. It's go time.
But maybe it is. Maybe Beetle's right on this, that you should have went through the process. And maybe you came right back to Toronto. Like, Toronto blew us away. We knew it, but we want to confirm it. Because it just feels like it's a just turning over of, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Let's add a couple things. It's the hesitancy to want to rip the Band-Aid off and just completely move in a different direction.
These feel like the types of things that should be covered in a real interview process, and I don't know if Gerard Mayo ever did that with this team. Who are your assistants? Who are we hiring? What's your vision for the offense? Instead of, hey, Thundercat, let's go to the Celtics game. You know, I mean, when did we cover, hey, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Who do you have lined up? Who would you like it to be? What's your vision for the offense?
That's a pretty big question there.
That feels like a big one.
You knew in December the quarterback's not going to be our quarterback.
Yep.
Like, you should already, we're going with this person to fix what we erred with. We can blame Bill for it, for not speaking to him, or the player for not playing up to his capabilities, and maybe Billy not getting the most out of him, but you should have known, beginning of December, this isn't going to end well, and we can't move on at the position. And that's a big hang-up. All these other guys that are jumping and going to other teams, quarterback's in place. Even Chicago, they'll say, well, what about the guy in Chicago? Well, they know they're taking Caleb Williams. I mean, unless they get blown away by Denver. I don't know.
617-779-0985. Jason's on the Cape. What's up, Jason?
What's up, guys? Hey, I couldn't agree more with you, Beetle. I mean, this is just an absolute train wreck from the hiring. Who's to say that Mayo was getting the job? He wasn't. He wasn't getting another job. And they automatically, assign him the position. We got no vision. We have no players. And it's going to be ugly. Ugly.
The only thing we have to grade Gerard Mayo on right now is the assembling of the staff, and right now they're striking out. They hired a special teams coordinator from the worst special teams unit in the NFL. Historically bad. They were 3 times as bad as any other special teams unit in the NFL last year. That's where they got the new coordinator on special teams. And they don't have an OC.
They bringing Clem back, or is the new OC going to be able to bring his guy?
Their defensive coordinator, although they went through a search, they landed on a guy who was already on the staff.
He's been here 7 years.
I understand.
I don't have a problem them hiring him.
I don't either. I'm just telling you.
I wouldn't touch the defense. I wouldn't. Keep it rolling.
How much work did that take? I mean, they conducted some interviews. They hired a guy from their own staff. Yeah. It's not like it was, I'm glad they did the search. They did the right thing. That's how it's supposed to go.
Steve did not do an interview, correct?
As far as I know.
Was not in play for the coordinator job. Okay. Just trying to.
This is all we've got to grade Gerard Mayo on so far. And so far, he's hired one of his own guys and a guy from the worst special teams unit in the NFL. And it's February 1st. And the Senior Bowl is happening, and we don't know what offense they're running. We don't know who they're hiring.
They're all getting out of there tomorrow.
And don't forget, once you get an offensive coordinator, you got a whole staff of people you got to hire under him.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Who's your line coach? Who's your tight end coach? Who's your receiver coach? You're going to bring Troy back.
Don't
Kaylee's
know.
back. Troy's probably back in play. It's the way I would assume that. It's more of the same.
That is true. And the draft is not that far away. A couple of months out to the draft.
Tag date is 1 month away.
And the combine is a few weeks out.
You got to know in 1 month who you're tagging. And I would use the tag. You have the ability to tag people now because you have money. And you got major needs. You might have to tag Duggar. Don't let him walk. Sign a winner, tag Duggar. Or tag the tight end.
Let's get your calls. Coming up right after this.
In the middle of your day, they're in the middle of Boston sports. Zolak and Bertrand on the Sports Hub.
Six 617-779-0985. Let's go to your calls.
Okay.
Promised. What, you got something?
No, I just heard McCone say it's the month of love.
It is.
Would you get your woman? Get her anything yet?
Actually, already made reservations for Valentine's Day. No big deal.
Today's a big day, so.
Hey, baby. About them donuts? No.
Where are you going?
Hot stuff.
You going the Greek place again? What are you doing?
No, we're doing a
Applebee's?
little Italian restaurant. I actually think they might have the wheel that we were talking about in Worcester.
Oh, pasta wheel.
Mari Monti, yeah.
See, I helped you out there.
Yeah. Are you going to get it?
I think so. I think I'll pull the trigger, on that.
Are you going to get what? That night?
Right?
Get it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nick in Providence. Hey, Nick, what's up?
Hey, just another day to rip on the Red Sox. So Breslow is, his spending habits, they're like going to the gas station to buy scratch tickets instead of going to the casino to play blackjack or craps, and it's absolutely maddening. Giolito right now is slotted as the number one starter for this team. That is embarrassing. I looked at the other teams in the division. The Red Sox have the highest ERA and highest WHIP of any team by a considerable amount as of last year. Excuse me, for the projected starters for this year. It is such a joke what they are doing with this team. San Diego has spent more money than them, has the same amount of guys in the top 50 prospect pool. Texas Rangers spend more money than them, same amount of guys in the prospect pool, top 50 prospect pool. This team is spinning its wheels, going nowhere, and nobody is falling for it anymore. This is such a joke. Sam, call me a liar.
I don't know why you blame Breslow. I'm not going to blame that guy.
He's working with less than Bloom had a year ago.
Yeah.
Come on.
Was that picture you retweeted from Instagram? Whose Instagram was that?
Linda's.
Who was in the
Henry's
picture?
Wife. Sam Kennedy, the guy who runs the PGA Tour.
Why is Sam Kennedy in the picture with the golf guys?
Why do you think? He's right in line with everything that goes on.
There you go. But you're a liar. You're the liar.
That's why he's walking back that comment to Dan Shaughnessy in the Globe. He knows he embarrassed himself.
So is it true that Linda Pizzuti has been going back at fans of Liverpool who are commenting under her post on Instagram?
She's turned the comments on this one off.
She's lowered herself to that level now?
She had responded to a fan the other day that called her a failure, and I think she just wrote failure with a question mark. Like, she was so shocked that someone would say that to them at this point.
Mrs. Henry.
Mrs. Henry.
866-555-0033.
It is crazy, though, when you look at Fenway Sports Group, Penguins, disaster right now. Red Sox, disaster. Liverpool, supposedly a disaster. Like, they're not doing anything right.
08717223344.
I saw this
56-year-old coach in control of everything. He wants out.
She posted about Liverpool winning, and someone wrote back, "Don't act like you care," on the comments, and she wrote, "Even grumpy after a win!" Exclamation point to a fan. Someone else said, "When will you run out of energy and sell the club? Hashtag FSG out." And she wrote back, "When will you just enjoy a win?" She's engaging with fans on social media.
You're crazy. I'd never do that.
And turning off comments when she posts certain pictures that she knows she's going to get backlash for. That's what Milliken posted.
Yeah. Next, you'll see her pop up in the Globe comments section. Any day now. Any day now.
Stan Grossfeld piece.
Show your face, Mrs. Henry.
Mrs. Henry! Come outside, Mrs. Henry. Answer for your team.
Why do you dress like the queen?
Failure. I would say Linda's winning at life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's her point.
What?
Failure. What do you mean? Look at
hell of a job by her.
Jeez.
Hooking in Tommy Boy and his billions. Nice work. It's all for love, though. All for love, of course. Dan's in the car. What's up, Dan?
It's a handsome couple.
Hey, guys. How you doing? I just got a few questions for you guys. I just don't understand how the Patriots don't have a plan, right? Like, they need to make this system attractive, and they have no OCs. Like, they don't even have an idea of what they're doing. They need a quarterback, and it needs to be Daniels. I think May is going to be a bust. I watch a lot of college. In his weak ACC schedule this year, the kid didn't look that great. Get Daniels. Hopefully he falls to us, and get a real OC. We need to make.
Well, you got to do part one before part two. You need the OC first. That can happen today. Throw a pile of money at what you think is the best candidate, and get them here, and land them in New England.
Today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Do you think we will have an offense?
Today is the first. Tomorrow's the second.
A quick question.
Groundhog Day.
Do you think we will have an offensive coordinator before we leave for Vegas?
No.
I don't either. That should scare you. Because if they were close on this guy, you should have closed the door if you wanted him. You didn't convince him enough.
I don't think they're close. I don't think Kaylee's taking the job. If I had to make a prediction, he's turning them down.
Reiss feels like it was night and day Monday to Thursday.
Yeah,
beginning of the week, done deal. Today, not so much. That guy's in tune with it. He knows what he's talking about.
They're going to get Clint Kubiak.
Oh. Gary Kubiak.
Shannon's in Vermont. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, guys. Hey, Tim. I can't wait to tell Connor about your little salad dressing mishap.
Wait.
Hold on.
Wait.
How do you know Tim and who's Connor?
Who's
Connor is my little brother, and he's friends with Tim. It's me, Tim. It's Shannon.
Oh, hey, Shannon.
Well, you have no clue who this is. He doesn't know who you are.
No idea.
Look at him.
No, he doesn't. I'm his older sister, one that you probably never met.
Connor. You got a friend, Connor?
Yeah. Now I know now.
Oh, do you? No, he doesn't. He's shaking his head no.
What?
How does Connor know Tim?
They went to high school together.
All right.
And he's going to get a good laugh out of spilling salad dressing all
What
over
high school
your
was that?
earphones.
Bancroft.
Bancroft School in Worcester, Mass.
The private?
Yeah.
Rich McCone?
No. Dad worked there. Free tuition.
Oh, good. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Good job, Dad.
It's like the people that work at BC and their kids go there.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's a good scam.
Your dad was my Secret Santa one year and gave me a great gift.
Wow. Look inside Santa's sack.
Hello.
Wow. What's in that sack?
No, that's it. I'm done. I want to go back to bashing the Patriots. 'Cause
Okay.
It's so easy.
Sure.
To expand on what has already been said today, I'm not necessarily convinced it's all lack of vision. It's our reputation that no one wants to come here. And if we can't get coaches here, how are we going to get players here and play hard?
It's an excellent question.
Are we going to hope that the draft kids are young, dumb, and full of...
Yeah, I mean... Well,
wow, Shannon.
Well, hold on.
Wow.
No, she brings up a good point here.
Where was she going?
We just assume that you're going to be able to just convince anybody to come here because you're going to be able to pay them. But if the money is equal and it's close, and if coaches are souring on wanting to be here, eventually players are going to sour because you're going to talk to players like, hey, you want to come here? You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Because of this. You can lose out on some guys. And you have to nail free agency. You have to nail the draft. Draft, they have to come. No question. You draft them, they come here. Free agency, a little more difficult. Because players do like money. But if money's close, they're going to go better situation. You don't have Tom Brady to go play with. That's the difference.
I think it's a good question, though. What are players saying about this team right now? Across the league. Players that have been here, players that are on the roster, players that are free agents from this roster, and players elsewhere that have nothing to do with the team. How is their reputation taking a hit in the last couple of months, last couple of years, whatever window you want to define it to? Let's get to headlines with Tim McCone, friend of Connor. 90 seconds. We'll come right back.
His dad had Secret Santa with kids.